What unfolds when the head of an 11-store warehouse chain disguises himself as an intern and finds himself paralyzed upon witnessing an employee stealing right before his eyes? Victor Malone had developed the company from its foundations after acquiring it from a retiring owner 8 years prior. Initially, there were merely 2 warehouses, but with Victor at the helm, it expanded rapidly. 11 locations spanning 3 states now. That success came at a cost of separation. He placed his faith in his managers, depended on the district heads, and had little connection with the floor workers these days. He began to feel uneasy as customer complaints about missing stock began to accumulate. Initially one, followed by a multitude. Accounts suggested it was merely inventory errors, yet Victor remained unconvinced. He resolved that the moment had come to assume a hidden identity. He let his beard grow, trimmed his hair to a short style, opted for inexpensive glasses, and donned loose-fitting attire. An assistant crafted a fabricated resume for a young man named Evan Morris, who was seeking a summer internship. Given that the majority of employees in the warehouses were young and turnover rates were typically high, it was not unusual for a fresh face to appear. No one on the floor had ever encountered Victor face-to-face, only the managers and district leaders had, and even that was ages ago. The strategy was straightforward. Dedicate a week to rotating through 3 warehouses, immerse himself, and observe the operations firsthand at the first stop. Warehouse 5, a hub of activity. As Victor entered, the warehouse manager, a fellow named Brad, hardly lifted his gaze from his clipboard. "You are the new intern. Is it Evan?" Victor inclined his head, readjusting his spectacles. "Indeed, quite satisfactory. We're overwhelmed. Stay close to Priya. She'll guide you through the process." Priya Daniels, petite and sporting a high ponytail, greeted him with a warm smile and a wave. "Hello there, newcomer." "Together we'll make it through today," she declared, offering him a bright neon safety vest. As they strolled across the floor, Victor immediately observed several details. Some workers operated with precision and speed, focused and diligent. Some relaxed in their seats, engaging in conversation, feigning busyness as a supervisor walked by. Priya shone brightly. She managed to take on double the tasks of her peers, all without a hint of discontent. She articulated everything with clarity, and remained patient when Victor struggled with a box or posed seemingly foolish questions. "You'll manage," she said, smiling as he nearly fumbled a pile of tiny gadgets. The initial day is often challenging. By lunchtime, Victor found himself drenched in sweat, his shirt clinging to him, and his arms throbbed with fatigue. He hadn't engaged in genuine physical labor for years. In a quiet corner of the break room, he took a sip of water as Priya engaged in conversation with a tall colleague named Troy. "Honestly, we deserve better for this," Troy grumbled, taking a bite of his sandwich as Priya simply shrugged. "It's genuine labor. It has the potential to be more challenging." Victor observed them, a sense of guilt beginning to settle within him. Had he truly distanced himself this much from the routine of everyday life? Following lunch, they received the task of replenishing a section close to the rear loading docks. The silence enveloped the place, a stillness that felt almost unsettling. While Victor was busy stacking boxes, he caught sight of Troy discreetly slipping some small items into his backpack: chargers, headphones, and a couple of power banks. Victor stood still. He gazed, heart pounding. This wasn't a case of missing inventory due to errors. This was outright theft. Open and nonchalant stealing. Troy secured his bag and surveyed his surroundings. His gaze swept past Victor without a moment's pause, dismissing him as just another clueless intern. No danger at all. Victor's thoughts raced. Action was imperative. For him. But how is that possible? If he were to speak up at this moment, Troy could potentially resort to aggression. Moreover, exposing his true identity could jeopardize everything. He continued to pile the boxes, striving to maintain a steady grip, yet within him a storm of unease brewed. As they finished up, Priya approached him. "Are you all right? You appear as though you've encountered something otherworldly." Victor let out a strained chuckle. Feeling a bit weary, I suppose, she smiled and gave him a friendly pat on the back. "You will become more resilient." Victor nodded, yet within him stirred a determination. He refused to let this go unnoticed. He just had to devise the right approach, for if Troy could pilfer so effortlessly, who else might be doing the same? The following morning, Victor showed up ahead of time, seamlessly merging with the steady stream of employees checking in. The warehouse thrummed with the rhythmic hum of forklifts, the solid thud of boxes landing on pallets, and the piercing beep of scanners echoing through the space. Brad issued commands from the front desk, hardly looking up as individuals moved in and out. Victor spotted Priya near the loading docks, her arms folded, gazing intently at a truck that was only partially unloaded. A clipboard hung loosely from her fingertips. "You're early," she remarked, arching an eyebrow. "Decided to stay on track today," Victor said as he adjusted his gloves while Priya passed him the clipboard. "We are lagging. Once again, half the team is tardy, and Brad appears indifferent. We need to shift these pallets, otherwise the upcoming shipment will be left outside." Victor nodded, surveying the towering stacks of sealed boxes. There was no alternative. They had to delve in. He seized a pallet jack and began moving loads next to Priya. After an hour, a familiar voice caught his ear. Troy sauntered in, a backpack casually draped over one shoulder, earbuds firmly in place, whistling as if he carried no burdens at all. Victor observed as he carelessly tossed his bag behind a pile of empty crates, then nonchalantly grabbed a scanner. Priya sighed in disapproval. For the third time this week he's late. Brad remains silent. Victor narrows his eyes, questioning why. She simply shrugs. Troy's cousin is married to Brad's sister. Nepotism was the sole reason for his presence. Here. Victor clenched his jaw. The situation was more dire than he had imagined. Theft was already a significant issue, but the added layer of favoritism tainted everything. The morning seemed to stretch endlessly. Victor lingered near Priya, seeking to gather insights while keeping his intentions concealed. At one moment, Priya leaned in to whisper, cautious about Brad as well. He only appears when the corporate team is in town, otherwise he remains tucked away in the office throughout the day. Victor acknowledged this, tucking it away for later. By mid-morning, Brad finally made his appearance from the office, cradling a chipped mug filled with coffee. He strolled over to a cluster of workers arranging boxes and began to share jokes that resonated throughout the entire floor, primarily poking fun at how the sluggish interns were hindering progress. Victor maintained a calm expression, immersing himself in his tasks, while the atmosphere around him crackled with tension. Workers chuckled courteously, yet their gazes remained icy. By midday, Priya's radio buzzed to life. A voice announced the need for a pickup at the front desk, mentioning a customer return of a heavy item. Priya passed the radio to Victor. "Evan, it's your turn. Please head to the front and ask for Charlie." Victor brushed his hands against his vest and strode purposefully across the floor. The warehouse extended into the horizon, the atmosphere thick with dust and the scent of machine oil. A stout man in a worn cap gestured for him to come closer at the front desk. Victor, the intern, nodded in agreement, which was a positive sign. "Grab that," Charlie said, pointing with a quick motion of his thumb toward a worn treadmill, its box barely held together by fraying straps. The woman mentioned it stopped working after a month. Victor crouched down, lifted the box onto a dolly, and began to wheel it back toward the returns area. As he turned the corner, he almost bumped into Troy, who was huddled behind a shelf, shoving something tiny into his sock. Victor felt a constriction in his chest. Troy noticed him, adjusted his posture with a casual smile, and strolled away as if nothing was amiss. Victor battled the impulse to face him at that moment. He craved something deeper than the surface revealed. He required irrefutable evidence. In the returns section, he spotted Priya organizing a collection of used electronics. She cast a fleeting look at him before shifting her gaze to the treadmill. It was a challenging day, she inquired. Victor let out a brief chuckle, gaining a wealth of knowledge. She brushed the perspiration from her brow. One either adapts to the relentless pace or walks away. Victor paused. Text. Have you ever considered leaving? Priya shrugged. At times, yet my mother's medical expenses won't cover themselves. He nodded, a tightness swelling in his throat. These were more than mere figures on a spreadsheet. These were genuine individuals shouldering authentic struggles. As the cleanup progressed, Victor noticed Troy quietly making his exit through the side door, his backpack noticeably full. After a brief pause, he nonchalantly brought it up to Priya. Priya frowned, questioning whether it was typical for people to leave like that during shifts. Not quite. Yet again, Troy follows his own path. Brad turns his gaze elsewhere. Victor tightened his jaw. The moment had come to elevate the situation, but with caution. The following day, he arrived with a discreet little camera fastened to his vest. The delivery was arranged by his assistant to arrive by morning. If the higher-ups failed to address the complaints, Victor would take it upon himself to gather the footage. He dedicated the morning to following Troy as closely as possible, feigning ignorance all the while. It was a brief moment. Halfway through the shift, Troy slipped into a concealed area behind a stack of pallets. Victor, feigning interest in a scanner, caught him in the act, shoving portable speakers into his backpack. Victor compelled himself to maintain his composure. He continued his task, pulse racing as the camera flashed quietly. As Troy strolled away, Victor approached Priya. "Hey," he said, lowering his voice. "Has anyone ever truly reported items going missing?" Priya surveyed her surroundings before leaning in closer. Individuals often express their grievances. Brad simply claims it's miscounts. Exerting excessive pressure can lead to more challenging transitions. Victor felt a wave of unease wash over him. Silence enveloped everyone, held captive by fear. Following his shift, Victor chose not to return home. He lingered in the parking lot, observing from afar as the workers emerged one by one. Troy appeared, a backpack casually draped over one shoulder, making his way toward a weathered pickup truck. Victor observed as he opened the tailgate and carefully removed a collection of electronics, placing them into a worn plastic bin. What was it all about? Evidence. The following morning, Victor made his entrance once more at the crack of dawn, but this time he went directly to Brad's office before the shift commenced. Brad lounged at a desk cluttered with fast food wrappers. Engrossed in his phone, Victor rapped lightly on the door, entered the room and closed it softly behind him. Brad remained completely absorbed, not even glancing up. "What is it?" Victor's gaze met his. "We must have a conversation immediately," Brad scoffed. "Which child are you referring to?" "You misplace your mama's lunch money," Victor raised the small camera. "What has been occurring during your oversight?" Brad's gaze darted to the camera, then sharpened. "Your behavior is quite inappropriate, Intern." Victor removed his glasses and discarded the alias. His voice remained unwavering. "My name is Victor Malone. This place is mine." For a moment, Brad simply gaped, his mouth moving in a futile attempt to form words, reminiscent of a fish struggling for breath. Victor took no time to hesitate. He observed the proof laid out on the desk, the video capturing Troy in the act of theft, the images depicting him unloading merchandise into his truck. "You've permitted theft," Victor said, his voice low and menacing. "It has been enabled by you. A culture has been established where dedicated employees are burdened with excessive work, while those in favor enjoy a more relaxed approach." Brad hesitated, attempting to evade responsibility. "Listen, I had no idea you were aware," Victor interrupted him, "and you took no action." Brad adjusted his position, his cheeks tinged with color. "It's more complex than that." "Here it is," Victor stated with a chill in his voice. "Your services are no longer required, in effect, right away." Brad's expression contorted into a frown, yet Victor had moved on from him entirely. He swung the door open and summoned security to remove Brad from the premises. In the absence of Brad, Victor convened the warehouse team. Priya lingered at the rear, arms folded, cautious. Victor confronted them, unmasked at last. "I'm Victor Malone," he stated. "I went incognito to witness the situation firsthand, and what I observed was simply intolerable." The employees shared apprehensive looks. "Troy Peterson," Victor stated, his tone firm. "Your employment has been terminated due to theft." Troy, positioned by the loading dock, turned ashen. "There's no way to demonstrate that." Victor lifted the camera. "I am capable, and I have accomplished it. You will be escorted out by security." As the guards approached, Troy muttered a curse under his breath but chose not to fight back. Victor faced the workers once more. "Everyone else, you are worthy of so much more than what you have received. From this moment onward, genuine leadership will take the forefront. Compensation evaluations are underway. Maintaining a balanced workload is essential. We are advancing individuals based on their abilities and achievements rather than their relationships." For a brief moment, silence enveloped the space, and then Priya took a step forward. Finally, she remarked with a touch of simplicity. A wave of tentative grins spread through the room. Victor acknowledged with a nod. "We are addressing this issue collaboratively. It's simple. Rebuilding trust is a gradual process. Yet, after an extended period, he experienced a sense of stability. Linked. He had transcended his role as merely the figurehead. He had returned to the place of significance. Victor lingered in Warehouse 5 for an additional 2 days following the departure of Brad and Troy. It wasn't a matter of suspicion. The focus was on ensuring that the very foundations of the issue had been entirely eradicated. He toiled alongside the team, loading trucks, sorting returns, and hoisting crates until his shoulders ached. The ambience transformed gradually. Initially, there was a sense of hesitation among the people as they grappled with the authenticity of the promises he had put forth. On the third morning, Victor convened a brief meeting prior to the floor opening. A handful of employees hung back, arms crossed, doubtful. Priya rested against a support beam, her jaw clenched. "I'm not here to give speeches," Victor stated, maintaining a calm tone. "Warehouse 5 is in search of a new manager, an individual who is familiar with the operations, understands the tasks at hand, and recognizes the daily challenges faced by the team." Silence enveloped the room. Victor surveyed the assembly. "I'm looking to elevate someone from our ranks, someone who has truly gained the admiration of this team." He captured Priya's attention. She averted her gaze swiftly, as if she couldn't fathom that it was possible. "Today I'll be open to suggestions in a subtle manner. If you believe someone is prepared to take on more responsibility, please inform me." The group scattered with little response, yet as the morning unfolded, employees meandered past Victor at the loading dock or break table. A young woman named Anna mumbled as she stacked boxes. "I think Priya would be good." Louis, an older gentleman, remarked that Priya is the sole individual who truly knows how to train people effectively. By noon, Victor wiped his forehead with a rag, having heard her name from almost everyone around him. During the lunch break, he spotted Priya seated by herself on the concrete steps at the side entrance, nibbling on a protein bar. "You've established a significant amount of trust here," Victor remarked, taking a seat next to her. She gave a nonchalant shrug. "I simply fulfill my responsibilities." "That's precisely why you are the ideal candidate to lead this establishment," Victor remarked. Priya blinked, the protein bar slipping from her grasp. "You're quite earnest. You've truly earned it," Victor remarked. She gazed at her work boots, marked and weathered. "I chose not to pursue a college education. I lack knowledge regarding administrative matters." Victor remarked on the importance of leading by example. "You're familiar with the task at hand, you're familiar with the individuals. I can guide you through the remainder." Priya breathed out gently, her grip on the wrapper growing firmer. "You might find yourself in a situation similar to Brad's." "You won't," Victor said, "because you genuinely care." She gave a quick, decisive nod, signaling her choice. "Understood. I'll take care of it," Victor declared as he rose to his feet. "Today marks the beginning of your journey. I'll extend my stay for another week to support you." That afternoon, Priya settled into the small, cluttered office that Brad had scarcely occupied. She rarely occupied the desk. She remained on the floor, maneuvering boxes, responding to inquiries, establishing the rhythm. Victor observed the shift in the workers' stance. They advanced with renewed determination, infused with vigor, as if they had rediscovered the significance of their efforts, yet not all was seamless. The following morning, a worker named Daman arrived late once more. He shuffled through the entrance, his feet heavy, vest hanging open, earbuds firmly in place. Priya spotted him by the conveyor belts. "You're 2 hours late," she stated, her tone resolute. Daman merely shrugged. "Congestion." You've arrived late 4 times this week, Priya remarked. This is your last chance. Daman let out an exasperated sigh. Honestly, this place would carry on just fine without my presence. Victor lingered close by, observing intently. Priya remained unfazed. Clock out, she instructed. Your work here is complete. Daman gazed at her, speechless. Are you really serious? You have no respect for the team, Priya remarked. Daman was escorted out by security without any fuss, and you weren't involved in the situation. Afterward, the floor appeared to resonate with a newfound ease, as if a weight had been removed from the flow. Later that day, Victor took a moment to speak with Priya privately. That was handled quite well, he remarked. It wasn't simple, she confessed. However, if we allow individuals to pull others down, there will be no progress. Indeed, Victor acknowledged. By the week's end, Warehouse 5 had transformed. It was far from flawless. Late shipments persisted, broken equipment awaited repairs, and stress continued to accompany the demands of the job. Yet, a sense of pride emerged. Employees began to embrace responsibility for their areas, proposing improved methods for arranging shelves and reporting damaged items without the worry of repercussions. On Friday afternoon, Victor assembled everyone by the loading docks just before the final shift concluded. I'm departing tomorrow, he stated. However, I am not vanishing. I plan to make regular and surprise visits to each warehouse. Eliminate the barriers separating leadership from the team on the ground. The workers acknowledged, a few offering tentative smiles. Victor passed a clipboard to Priya. Beginning Monday, you will have the power to arrange repairs, recruit replacements, and elevate concerns straight to corporate if local assistance is unavailable. Priya gazed at the clipboard as if it were an immense burden, heavy and daunting. I will not disappoint you, Victor stated with certainty. I know you won't. As the team broke apart, Victor noticed Anna laughing with Lewis over a shared joke, a scene he hadn't witnessed all week. The warehouse retained its scent of dust and sweat, and the old forklift continued to rattle excessively, yet the essence of the place had transformed. It marked the beginning. Victor retrieved his phone and pressed the number for his assistant. Arrange site visits for the upcoming 3 warehouses, he instructed as the call connected. Have HR collaborate with Priya on developing a leadership training program. She will require assistance. He concluded the call and rested against the loading dock railing, observing the workers as they wrapped up their tasks. After a lengthy period, he experienced a renewed sense of purpose, feeling not merely like a leader but like a creator once more. The true journey was only just starting. Victor reached Warehouse 5 shortly after dawn the next Monday, keen to observe how everything was. Faring in his absence, without his constant oversight, the atmosphere hung thick with the aroma of concrete dust and oil, yet a distinct energy enveloped the space as workers began to arrive. They advanced with intention, acknowledging one another with subtle nods and brief exchanges, no longer burdened by the tension that had previously permeated every space. He lingered by the entrance, observing intently. Priya positioned herself along the central aisle, clipboard clutched firmly, orchestrating the morning tasks with precision. She wasn't issuing commands. She was engaging with the team, ensuring that everyone grasped their responsibilities. She briefly locked eyes with Victor, offering a subtle, nearly undetectable nod before redirecting her attention to her crew. Victor noticed a younger colleague, Devin, grappling with a faulty pallet jack. Rather than brushing it off as he might have done in the past, Devin called Louis over for assistance. They examined it collaboratively, then designated it for maintenance, autonomously. Victor moved silently among the aisles, observing the subtle yet genuine enhancements. Several of the most worn shelving units had been mended with makeshift supports. Boxes were arranged meticulously, labels prominently displayed, and pathways unobstructed. It wasn't flawless, but it was an improvement. Victor pivoted. He encountered Priya once more around mid-morning, reviewing a shipment manifest alongside. Hannah by the loading dock. When you have a moment, you may want to check out the new hire packets, Victor suggested, after Anna stepped away to assist with unloading a truck. Priya tightened her ponytail, repositioning the clipboard tucked under her arm. I have begun the review process. We have 2 part-time employees beginning next week. That should assist with the backlogs on Friday and Saturday. Victor nodded, clearly impressed. Is there anything additional you require from corporate? Absolutely, Priya replied, without a moment's pause. The schedule for forklift maintenance is no longer current. We are operating machines well beyond their recommended service hours. It lacks safety. Today, Victor mentioned that he would escalate it. What are the implications of staffing gaps? Priya mentioned that she's offering additional hours to those interested. However, I'm ensuring a rotation so that no one becomes overwhelmed. Victor offered a faint smile. Intelligent. Priya adjusted her stance, observing him intently. Are you really going to vanish once more? Victor announced his intention to visit all the warehouses. Rest assured, I will return to this place, consistently. Priya acknowledged that with a nod. A resounding crash reverberated from the distant corner of the warehouse. They both turned without thinking. A pile of small appliance boxes had fallen over by the return station. Victor and Priya approached with a light jog. Devin stood frozen, eyes wide with surprise, gripping a warped dolly handle. Apologies came swiftly from Devin's lips. The wheel snagged on a bolt embedded in the floor. I failed to notice it. Priya knelt down, examining the shattered dolly and the fractured tile where the bolt had protruded. Are you okay? She inquired. Devin gave a slight shake of his head. Priya rose and faced Victor. A thorough inspection of the floor is necessary. Should there be additional bolts of that nature, it could lead to someone getting injured. I will approve a comprehensive safety review, Victor stated, commencing today. Devin began to collect the scattered boxes, yet Priya gently placed a hand on his arm. Take your time, she urged. Seek assistance from one of the others. You seem unsettled. Victor observed Anna and Louis as they effortlessly lifted the heavier boxes, taking initiative without needing a prompt. Everyone remained silent. No one expressed any annoyance. Later, during a brief scheduled break for the crew, Victor convened a few floor leads in the small conference room. Priya positioned herself at the forefront, a clipboard placed neatly on the table next to her. First, we'll address the safety issues, Victor stated. Louis, you'll take the lead on the walkthrough this afternoon. Identify and highlight any potential dangers. Louis gave a resolute nod. Anna, Victor went on, I'd like you to collaborate. With Priya on cross-training, it is essential to have backups for each station. Hannah appeared taken aback yet delighted. Absolutely, I can handle that. Excellent, Victor remarked. We're moving beyond mere repairs. We are assembling a team capable of tackling any challenge that comes our way. As the meeting concluded, Victor stayed behind. Priya remained as well, perusing her notes. You're adapting quickly, Victor remarked. I've had to reshape everything, Priya remarked with a casual shrug. It's not a surprise. Victor rested against the wall, his arms folded across his chest. Text. Have you ever considered pursuing something beyond just managing a warehouse? Priya asked, tilting her head. What do you mean? Victor expressed his aspiration to become a district lead one day. Or higher. Priya chuckled gently. With a grin, Victor took it one step at a time. That seems reasonable. The remainder of the day unfolded with a consistent cadence. Louis took charge of the floor inspection, marking 3 additional areas where bolts had begun to loosen. Victor approved the arrival of a temporary repair team for the following morning. As the shift drew to a close, Victor assembled the entire crew once more at the main loading dock. This week you revealed something to me, Victor said, his voice resonating effortlessly. Your demonstration showed that when leaders are attentive, individuals are inspired to rise to the occasion. Your actions demonstrated the importance of respect. The workers remained silent, yet the ambiance had shifted significantly. Unveiled, more powerful. Victor mentioned that he would be heading to our other locations. However, Priya is now in the role of your manager. I have complete confidence in her abilities, and she possesses the authority to implement the necessary changes. Victor took a moment, allowing that to sink in. He expressed his pride in what you have initiated here. Continue to develop it. He took a step back, allowing Priya to take center stage. She cast a fleeting look in his direction, before redirecting her attention to her team. Tomorrow brings fresh possibilities. she remarked with a quiet assurance. "We will enhance each day, surpassing today, and the next day will be even greater." Silence, please, simply a serene mutual comprehension. Victor departed from Warehouse 5 that evening quietly, without any spectacle. He cruised by the clusters of trucks stationed beneath the waning sun, the final beams shimmering off the metal like a vow. He sensed a newfound grip on his situation. He sensed that he had rediscovered the essence of his company. This time he was determined not to let it slip away.